Hi, my name is Parastu Imami, and I'm the host of The Road to Success for Your Highly Sensitive Child. This podcast is about empowering parents of highly sensitive children to nurture their child's unique personality trait and create a path to success. Our podcast provides guidance, insights, and support to help you unlock your child's full potential, fostering resilience, confidence, and a bright future. If you're new to my podcast, please go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2 because they provide information on high sensitivity that all subsequent episodes will build upon. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com. Today I have a special guest, Lisa Chan, who is a child behavior expert and parenting coach with over a decade of experience as a pediatric occupational therapist. She specializes in helping parents navigate challenging behaviors using a holistic approach rooted in sensory integration, neuroscience, and child development. Lisa is passionate about empowering parents with practical strategies to support emotional regulation, executive functioning, and sensory needs in their children. This is okay that they have these few things that we can work through, and they're all things that you could work through. None of it is something that has no solution. There's always a solution to all these challenges that present themselves to you. But you just have to have the knowledge and the skills and the tools to know how to handle those challenges.
Yeah, exactly. And I really love that point that you're making about focusing on the strengths, because there is that statistic that, it's more geared for kids who have ADHD, but I think it's very relevant to kids with autism and highly sensitive kids that they actually hear 20,000 more negative comments in their lifetime compared to other kids. And the reason is they're struggling so much that they're often doing things that are more quote unquote inappropriate, socially not acceptable, that maybe bother other people. And it's the other people that are sending these messages to them, whether it's us as parents and we're not even realizing it. Maybe it's the teachers. Maybe it's other peers, and that's the narrative that ends up in their minds, that you're not good enough. Why are you so difficult? Yeah. Why are you so sensitive about this? Right? That's what plays in their minds constantly. And that's what they start telling themselves, especially if that's the message they were getting since they were little, especially if it's coming from parents and teachers. Yeah. That is what they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives. But if we can help to shift that, right? And it comes back to us again, because we're the adults in the room. We're the ones that have that prefrontal cortex that can actually think and use logic. We have to change and shift our language. And if we can start to see their strengths, that can help us to eliminate the negative messages. So the next time your child is, pushing back on you because they're finding something difficult, find the thing that is positive about them, right? Saying something like, this thing is really uncomfortable for you, but I can see how strong and attuned you are to this other thing. Why don't we focus our attention over here? And right. And just finding the positive for them rather than just keep drilling down on that bad thing that they're doing. That's only taking away their self-esteem and their confidence. And at the end of the day, what is that going to do for them? That's only going to put them deeper in a dark hole that they already feel like they're being pushed into. We need to uplift them. We need to send them those positive messages. And we have to believe it ourselves too in order for us to say it. So we have to shift our mindset to that positive way of thinking.
And that's why it's so important to have that list of strengths, because sometimes when you're in a challenging state, maybe you're tired, maybe you didn't sleep the night before, and your child is acting up, and maybe you can't think of what's positive about my child in that moment. But if you have it written down, nowadays everything is on your phone anyway. You can even just pull it up on I recommend that we do the old fashioned way of writing it, down. And I actually have, that my clients post their child's strength somewhere where the child can see it all the time, because it's important to get reminded of your strengths. Because like you said, these children, highly sensitive children who are autistic, have ADHD, they get negative messages so much anyway from the outside world. So at home, you want to give them as many positive messages as you could possibly give them, because you want to outnumber the negativity that they're hearing out in the world. So when they come home, all they hear is positive. And this is not about coddling your child. That has nothing to, just because you're focusing on their strengths doesn't mean that you're coddling them. It's very different. But what you're doing with focusing on their strength is you're giving positive messages to them, which they need to hear, because all day long, if they're going to school, if they're with other kids, they're hearing it. Oh my God, you're so sensitive. Oh my God, really? Here we go again. Paris too is sensitive again. Oh my God, that's so little. Like, why do you bother over something so little? These are messages that the child is hearing all the time. And
right. And how can we shift that? We can, right? Something like that could have easily been, wow, you're so perceptive.
Yeah.
Like, you're really noticing all the little details, even just that change of tone.
Yeah.
And that's actually a great thing. Like, yes, you notice the small things, but if we say, why is it bothering you? Oh my goodness, versus you're very perceptive. I can't believe you even noticed that. Like, I didn't even see that. Yeah. That completely changes the way your child is going to recognize these things about themselves. They're going to see it in a positive way. Yeah. Right. And then you're actually helping them to not be so quote unquote sensitive. Like, if you keep highlighting why you're so sensitive, well, they're just going to keep ruminating on that. Why am I so sensitive? Why am I so sensitive? Versus like, I'm perceptive. I can spot things that other people can't spot. Like, exactly. But it's still coming from the same situation. It's just a shift.
Yeah. And it's also important when you use their strengths at home, then their confidence level is going to go up, right? And then when somebody says to them, oh, you're so sensitive, and then they can come back with something cool to say, like, oh, what about my sensitivity is bothering you? Or, oh, yeah, you're so good. Yes, I'm very sensitive and I love it. That's right. That's my asset. That's my superpower, that I'm so sensitive. They could come back with, depending on the child's age, you could teach them all kinds of cute ways of coming back and just making light of that comment. Because when you make light of that comment, you diffuse the negativity aspect of it, right? And then guess what? Do you think that person is going to say that to you ever again? Probably not, because they're going to know they're not, because actually the reality is, unfortunately, we all know this, right? It's human nature. When you're saying something that bothers someone, especially when you're a child, you do it more often. Like my brother, for example, when we were growing up, I hated him calling me, my name is Paris too, and he would call me Patty. And I hated that name because it's nowhere near my name. My name has a meaning. Patty doesn't have a meaning. It's so ugly, in my opinion. Sorry for those people who have that name. I don't mean to offend you in any way. It's just that I really dislike this name, and he knew it. So guess what? He was repeating it over and over. He made a song out of it. He sang this song. I swear to God, every time he would see me, he would sing this song. And it was the most hideous song too. There was nothing positive about it. And so my point is that when you're a child and you let other children know that that's bothering you, they're going to say it more. If they know that, hey, every time I say, oh, you're so sensitive, she gets upset, well, of course they're going to say it more. But if they say you're so sensitive and I don't react, instead I react in a positive way, like I'm not getting upset about it, but I'm actually getting happy about it. And I'm saying some cute comment back to you. That person it's not going to be fun for them to now say that to me the next time, and that's just human nature. I know my brother didn't mean to be mean to me, and I'm sure he didn't do it intentionally to hurt me, but it was fun for him because he would get a reaction out of me. And that's just human nature, unfortunately.
Yes, it is human nature. And we really want to equip them with knowing how to stand up for themselves, advocate for themselves. And, like a lot of the families that I work with, because of that, like they really struggle with their emotions and like knowing how to really manage them. And it starts to really take over. And what I really want is like parents to really understand the power they have in helping your child also to build those emotional regulation skills. Because when your child is that sensitive, like they do come hand in hand. And so figuring out, well, what are the different tools that you can start teaching your child to help them manage if they feel upset over like a comment that they received from someone? How do they regulate themselves and not let that emotion take over and let them explode? Because I think we see that a lot too. I can't really specifically speak on highly sensitive children, but what I see in the autistic group of kids and ADHD kids, that really comes out when they feel that there is some level of an attack on them because they're quote unquote not good enough, that those emotions build up, and that they also don't have a very big tolerance to uncomfortable feelings of frustration and disappointment, that it explodes out of them. And I think that's a big thing that parents are really facing and are unsure of how to really navigate those types of like meltdowns and tantrums. So, really understanding the root of emotional regulation and the pillars behind why your child reacts like that. And this is actually something that I created a course about to help parents really understand the breakdown of these 5 pivotal pieces to emotional regulation, that when there's problems in any of the 3, and sensory is a really big piece to that we've been really talking about. Also with that communication, that tonality, the posture that you carry towards your child, that can be a really big trigger that can lead to that dysregulation. There's also a lot related to like the way the brain works and that executive functioning. If their executive functioning is not at their biological age level and it's below, well, if they're still, let's say in grade 4, but they're functioning lower at like a grade 2, grade 1 level, there's going to be expectations that they can't meet from that executive functioning level. And that's creating a lot of uncomfortable feelings within them and also frustration that it spews out. So really being mindful of the different aspects when it comes to their emotions and why they're behaving the way they are is absolutely critical in knowing where to then intervene.
Yes.
Because we need to intervene and give them the tools to help them with things, because they are truly struggling. They are truly struggling with a lack of skill that needs to develop. And that's, again, falls on parents to really help build that.
Absolutely. And with highly sensitive people, when it comes to navigating their nervous system and getting overstimulated, I help my clients teach their child how to basically regulate themselves throughout the day so that they stay regulated throughout the day. But one of the way I do that is through various somatic practices. Is that something that you do as well with children who are autistic or have ADHD?
Can you give some examples of what you mean by somatic exercises?
Yes. Actually this somatic techniques, it's been around for a long time, but I think the words that we're using to describe them is new. Like somatic technique is something I didn't know about 2 years ago, for example, and I just stumbled across it for myself to heal myself. And now I apply it to my clients as well. It's basically, a body and mind, there are various exercises and techniques that you use to bring awareness to your body and mind. So physical and emotional awareness together, when your nervous system, when your vagus nerve, which is the largest nerve in your body, gets dysregulated, the way that you can get it to be regulated again is through somatic practice. And for example, it could be shaking your body, like how dogs shake their body when, they do it continuously throughout the day. It's similar to that. So you want to shake your body, and be as crazy as you can be for 5 minutes. And that shaking of the body regulates your vagus nerve. Mm-hmm. And so that's just one practice. There are thousands of somatic practices, but this is the one that is my go-to, especially for kids, because most kids like that. Like, they like to shake their body and be crazy and then if the child doesn't like that, for example, if the child is very, very introverted and they don't like those kind of sudden movements, then there is another technique where they can use like either a gua sha, or they can use their finger, or they could use even a feather, but they just like kind of stroke their face like this, and it's always inward to outward. So you're always starting from the inside of your face to outside, and then you stroke one side of your face, and then you stroke the other side of your face, and then you kind of go in a circular fashion on your third eye, and then you also like kind of rub your eyebrows. This part, your eyebrows hold a lot of tension, and so if you either use your finger, use the gua sha or a feather. Some children don't like to use their finger or the gua sha, but they do like to use a feather. So I encourage parents to use a feather. And then you end with the back of your neck, which is where the vagus nerve starts. So you just go up and down with your fingers or gua sha or whatever it is that you're using. And this will automatically regulate your nervous system. And, this is something that a child can do even at school. They could take a quick bathroom break, go in the bathroom, do this for themselves, or even just washing their face with cold water also resets their nervous system too.
Yeah. So, we definitely have something that is very similar. It's more sensory based. So we know that in the body that we have different proprioceptive receptors. So they're found in like our joints and our muscles. So getting a lot of deep pressure is very regulating for the body. So that's something that I often recommend. I really take the time though to understand the child's sensory profile to see if proprioception is actually something that their body likes to receive. Typically it is, because it is a very grounding type of input. Just think of it as like when you go for a deep tissue massage and you're like, oh, that feels so great. It feels so relaxing. It's the same concept. You're applying that pressure. For kids, it's a little bit harder to give like a massage to them. But if you're in the home setting, a very helpful tool is getting your child to lay down on, like a yoga mat. And you tell them we're going to do sandwich like pushes. So you get a pillow and you squeeze them with the pillow, and that's very relaxing. I recommended that a lot, especially to families who have kids that are very, they have a lot of energy right before bedtime. It's really hard to wind them down.
Yeah.
And so we use those proprioceptive techniques to help them calm their nervous systems down, help them feel more ready at night to go to sleep. There's also different tools and equipment that I recommend. There's weighted blankets. But of course you need something like that. I know you can buy it off Amazon, but you really have to also understand weight capacity on your child as well, because there are different types of risks involved. But there's weighted blankets, there's weighted lap pads that really help the kids who have a hard time sitting. So if your child is very hyperactive, they really need to move around. It's difficult for them to sit at the desk, at dinner table. They want to move. Applying a lap pad can help to just make them feel grounded. Also recommend that in schools too during circle time. So there's a lot of different tools to help with that. When a child is really in a state of dysregulation where they're really ramped up, again, a lot of this it's very unique. Like we have to really understand your child because we can't necessarily assume let's use proprioceptive activities in this heightened moment where your child, is very just kind of everywhere. That can pose some different risks and can be very hard to apply. So really trying to figure out what other kind of sensory modalities can help calm the nervous system. There's other things like calming corners where you set up a place in your home. Yes. You set up like a nice little tent, put little twinkly lights inside, dim the lights, have a little sound machine going, and this is like their safe place that they can go. So if they're really, in a place of dysregulation, have these types of things set up in your home, or if it happens at school, these are things that teachers or the staff can really look into to see if this is an appropriate thing to set up for your child. So this is all my specialty when it comes to sensory and understanding your child's specific sensory needs and what they will need to help them regulate their nervous system. But I think somatic exercises are also a really great tool. They sound like they incorporate proprioception and that, tactile touch that can be very, very regulating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learned somatic techniques for myself because I have a neurological disorder that I developed when the leaks happened in my home. Because it comes from multiple traumas. This disorder is a very rare disorder that you get when you're exposed to several traumas back to back. And for me, it was 10 leaks back to back. So, nobody knows about this disorder. It's called conversion disorder, and nobody knows about it. And so doctors have very limited knowledge about it because it's rare. And so I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help myself. And it's very painful when you have an episode. It's extremely painful. And so, I decided to take things in my own hands, which is something that highly sensitive people do. Actually, if they don't have knowledge about something, they go and get it. It doesn't matter if it's their field or not. Like, I'm not in the medical field yet. I went and read so many books, took so many classes just so that I could help myself, because otherwise I would be in massive pain all the time. And I don't believe in medication. So I tried to stay away from medication as much as I could. But it is so powerful that I use it with all of my clients. That is a huge part of my practice now. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. And, it's, the fact that I got ill and I had to learn how to help myself through these somatic techniques. And now I can incorporate that in my practice. It's amazing. Like the positive impact that I have seen in families, it's just night and day. It's indescribable with words. And it just warms my heart so much when I see that through these somatic practices, the child has, for example, overcome this illness that they had, that no doctor could help them. And, they happen to come to me and for other reasons, and I'm able to help them with this disorder that they have. And it's just so rewarding, and I'm not a doctor. I always tell my clients, I'm not a doctor. Even though I know a lot of things because of my parents being in the medical field and talking about it at home. But, I'm not trained to be a doctor. But these somatic practices, I'm telling you, they have helped so many people and in so many different ways. Anything that has to do with your nervous system, can be really, really, can have a huge impact if you use these somatic practices. And I have an episode on it too. I believe it was, Actually, almost a year, or maybe even exactly a year ago that I did that episode. So it's February of 2024 that I talk about somatic practices for anyone who's interested in listening to that. Of course, that episode is limited. Like you said, you have to take the child into consideration. Every child is unique. So, and not, I usually recommend a specific somatic practice to my clients, because every child is different and I need to understand what their child needs before I can say which technique works for them. But the one technique that I teach everyone is the shaking. That works for everyone. And it's fun to do. I do it every single day. And there's not a day that I don't do that because it really, really calms your body and regulates your nervous system. And it really, you can see the effect of it very quickly, which is awesome because, we're basically now wired to get instant gratification. So if we don't see the effect right away, we think it's not working.
Yeah, exactly.
And some techniques take time. You won't see it right away. So, I know we're running out of time. So I wanted to, ask you if there's any last minute advice that you want to give parents.
So my advice that I always give to parents is make sure you're taking care of yourself first. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed and under a lot of pressure when you're raising a child with these different challenges. And it really goes back to that analogy. You got to put your mask on first. Yes. And sometimes it can feel like it's easier said than done because, by doing that, you feel like you're taking away from your child. But really what you're doing is you're replenishing yourself, because what I've seen working with so many families is that parents, they're just trying to do so much for their kids that they don't even realize that their batteries are burning out until it's too late. And then they get into this burnout stage where they feel depressed. They feel constantly anxious, constantly ruminating about stuff, and then they feel trapped in that. Mm-hmm. And so you need to recognize when you're starting to get to those low areas. You have to be proactive and put yourself first. Yeah. Figure out what are those things that's going to refuel you, what's going to help you feel less stressed, mm-hmm. right? Taking care of yourself physically, but also mentally and spiritually, all of those things. It's so important because you can't just focus on your child's behavior all the time and think, well, I need to just stop that behavior. I need to nip that in the bud and control it. That's going to drain you. You have to put food and nutrition into you so that you can think more critically and more logically and do all these things that we were just talking about, right? Going to the root cause. You can't get to the root cause if you're in survival mode. You stay on that superficial, you're only looking at the behaviors and panicking. But if you can take care of yourself, it will give you the capacity to go, okay, I can actually take a moment and pause and ask myself, why is my child behaving this way? I can have the patience to actually tackle it in the right way. Absolutely. And so what I encourage parents is to actually write down what are these things that are going to fuel you. When you start to notice you're dipping, what is it? Is it a yoga class? Is it just going out for a walk and listening to music? Make those things as accessible to you as possible, because the more you can have it handy for you, the more you're going to be able to grab it and go. Versus if you don't have these things set up, if you need to download the music and you need to find your headphones and charge it and whatever, you're not going to end up doing it. You need to proactively have those things ready for yourself as a lifeline for you to use it when you really need it. Absolutely.
And somatic practices are actually something that's really helpful for if you feel like you're dysregulated. It's a really good way for even adults to get regulated. And when you go into the fight or flight mode, you are extremely dysregulated and your logical brain doesn't work at that point. So it's very important for you to, I highly recommend that people do somatic practice every day, actually, just so that they don't get to that dysregulated state. Because if you're constantly regulating yourself, you're not building things up inside, right? So, and there's no build up for it to kind of, explode like a volcano. So definitely consider learning somatic practices, not just for your child, but also for yourself. Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. That was such a great session. I really I'm very happy that you had the opportunity to join us today. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us. I'm sure the listeners got so much, from listening to you. And before I go into the outro, maybe you can, I will have this in the, podcast description as well, but maybe, share a little bit about how they can get in touch with you.
Yes, for sure. Well, if any, the parents out there that are listening to this and you're feeling like you are looking for support, I do have different resources that can help you. So specifically, if you're looking for resources around emotional regulation, if you're facing a lot of these tantrums and meltdowns and you want to know more about it and what actual strategies you can start implementing, I have a course called From Chaos to Calm, and it's really going to help dive deep into the 5 pillars that I was talking about that really unpacks emotional regulation and then helps you to figure out what areas my child struggling with and what can I actually do about it. So that's all on my website. And also I have my private coaching as well. So I specifically help families who have kids that are on the spectrum, who have ADHD, different developmental challenges, intellectual challenges. So, because of my background, I'm able to bring you a lot of insight into their world and help you understand your child better. But I know that a lot of parents who are going through this too, emotionally, it's a lot. And so what my coaching really does offer is it gives you that space to share what's been going on with you, help you to, recognize you're not alone in this, and you have my support to help you work through all the ups and downs. But also at the same time, I do give you practical tools. This isn't just a place for you to just only share and then that's it. It's like, I'm here for that, but I'm also here to actually bring change and help you bring that change for your own family. So that's all of my one-on-one personal coaching, which you can also find on my website. So, Parastu's going to put the link, but if you want to know what it is, it's simple, www.thelisachan.com. I'm also on different social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Threads, and my handle is at Lisa Parent Coach. So I put out social media content every single day. I have YouTube videos twice a week, so you can check that there. And I do believe, like, if you have a child who is highly sensitive, a lot of the content I put out is very applicable to that. So you can have a look on all those social media platforms.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. It's really amazing having you here today. And it was such a great discussion. I know that the listeners are going to get a lot out of this session. It's going to be multiple sessions because we've gone, over time as we both knew we would go over time. So this is a multi-episode session. So, I'm very excited for my listeners. They're going to get a lot out from you, from all the knowledge that you shared today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you that you have the power to create a bright and successful future for your highly sensitive child. Embrace their uniqueness, nurture their strengths, and provide them with the love and support they need. Together, we can pave a path to success that aligns with their sensitivity. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We'll be here with more insights and inspiration in our next episode. Until then, keep believing in your child's potential because they truly are extraordinary. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and stay committed to setting your child up for success in life. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please leave a review, share with other parents, and reach out to us with any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com.